Hey everyone, what's up? Yeah, it's a new little mic, headset mic that I got. It's an Ion PC headset. I only got it for about $8.88 or less at my job. I did order another one. It's a Panasonic one, and that's going to be delivered to my job as we speak. It should be there by at least Wednesday at the most, or at the latest. The other one I have still kind of works. It's just a little I think part of it's starting to wear out a little bit to where I can't really hear out of the headphones. So yeah, it's getting to that point to where even I think the mic's starting to cut out too. But I thought I'd come on here and kind of through an audio-wise, just give my thoughts on Money in the Bank this evening, or last evening to be exact. I know some people were not too. I'll put it this way: Money in the Bank kind of got a bit of a mixed reaction. Don't get me wrong about that. It got a bit of a. Easy for me to say, folks. It got a bit of a mixed reaction from a lot of the fans. Some fans felt that it was kind of like, I think the X-Men said it best, it was kind of like, it was basically like 50-50 booking, if you will. It was like part of it was good, and then of course there was parts of it that, weren't good, to the point that it's like, who came up with certain decisions that, a lot of people felt just, didn't make any sense. I didn't watch all of Money in the Bank. I'm going to be quite honest with you guys on that. I forgot that it came on at 4, and I started watching it just about around 5 o'clock. So I basically missed the first couple of matches, but from what I understood, Daniel Bryan and Big Cass was okay. Daniel Bryan wins again against Big Cass. From what I understand, Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn was mostly a squash match. It sounds like Zayn got a little bit of offense in, but then was mostly destroyed. Rollins and Elias was good. So, it obviously had a decent amount of matches, 2 good ones and one in the middle that was just mostly, was mostly the kind of match that, hey, you could put this on Raw and it wouldn't really hurt them at all. But, then we get to the portion I started watching, and I started watching just a little bit into the women's ladder match, moments into it. And it was good. It was actually good. I mean, I will agree with what a lot of people have said. The women's match was really good. All the ladies there definitely brought it for this one. I know one common complaint that some people had was, well, where's the women? Why aren't the women on the show, or on the house shows or the live events? And it was mostly because of the fact that they were training at the Performance Center for this match. I think someone had gotten to the back and said, look, you guys got to take a step up from last year and really show that you can compete with the men. And they did that. They did that. And it was good. I mean, the ending, some people kind of, unsure about, like, instead of, one woman pulling off another and, hitting her with a move or something, or hitting her or following up with a move, that instead we just got mainly the, how do I put this, how do I put this, that we mainly just, got a bit of a, I think someone on Pro Wrestling Unlimited said got a bit of cattery towards the end, because the women were basically like, instead, like I said, instead of pulling someone off and following up or hitting a move on them, instead it was like Lana would pull off one woman and she'd try to climb up. Naomi would do the same thing, and that was about it. And speaking of Naomi, I have to give credit where credit is due. I mean, I'm in agreement with a lot of people on this. Her and Ember Moon were definitely the MVPs of this match because they did some crazy spots, from what I understand, in this match that no one thought, I guess, was possible. I think there was one moment that when I started watching the match, that Naomi hit some kind of like blockbuster move from the apron to the outside. So, you know, she was on the outside portion of the apron and she hit some kind of blockbuster move or something. So it was really interesting. The women really, I think, like I said, brought it a lot. And in the end, though, a lot of us thought, okay, it's going to be Natalya, it could be Becky, most likely could be Charlotte, but nope. It was neither of them because it ended up being Alexa. Alexa Bliss ends up winning Money in the Bank, the women's Money in the Bank match. And, you know, it is kind of disappointing for someone like Becky because you think she needs it more than Alexa. That, you know, someone like Naomi needs it more, or Ember Moon could probably use it to elevate her a little bit more on the main roster. Or, you know, someone like a Natalya just to, you know, start up the feud with Ronda or something. But no, they didn't do that. Instead, they went with Alexa, and that does play a role later on because, you know, she does kind of get involved in the Raw Women's Championship match later on. But we'll get into that in a moment. So yeah, the women did definitely stepped it up from a year before. And sorry, my finger hit the mic there. Like I said, for 888, it's not too bad, the mic. It's just, you know, it's just average. Something you can probably get in a dollar store one down the line someday. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, you know, Alexa, she ends up, you know, winning the match. Sorry about that. She ends up winning the match. And then, of course, this is going to lead into later on to the Raw Women's Championship. After that, we had Roman and Jinder Mahal. And just like a lot of people predicted, this got crapped on. This match, you know, no matter how slow-paced, you know, no matter how slow-paced it was, or how exciting it could get, nobody cared. And you would think WWE would listen by now. They would realize by now that, you know, no one, you know, no matter how hard you try, no one's going to want to deal with Roman Reigns. No one's going to want to see Roman Reigns in the ring. No one's going to want to see that. And, yeah, they basically this went on for about, I would say, 20 minutes at most. 15, 20, well, mostly felt like 20 minutes. And in the end, Roman did end up winning, as a lot of people predicted. And now he's going to be moving on possibly to Brock Lesnar, or is he? But yeah, Roman Reigns ended up winning the match as people predicted. One thing I will say about this is it was a physical match. It was a physical match. Not hard hitting, but just physical, slow paced and all that. And like I said, the fans just crapped all over this. I mean, I think I said something to, what I'm saying is, I think I said something to Deluxe Man along the lines of, this became Channel Mania. Yeah, what happened during this match with the crowd became Chant-O-Mania, or Chantamania, if you will. They basically chanted and chanted and chanted just about anything you can think of, from CM Punk, Johnny Wrestling, Beach Ball, This Is Awful, Boring, NXT, you know, what else did they chant? Just the list. They just chanted a lot of stuff. And what was surprising, was the opposite during those fan. They even did a freaking rave a couple of times. And what was opposite to that with the fans from the previous night, because this is almost basically the same audience, almost the same, was at NXT TakeOver Chicago. They tried to bring a beach ball out during the women's match between Nikki Cross and Shayna Baszler, and that got booed on. That got booed and that got crapped on, and people popped when someone stopped and popped the beach ball. And that's during NXT TakeOver, a WWE event. Same building, almost identical audience. And then you get to tonight, and the exact opposite from the previous night happened, because basically you had a beach ball being brought out and people were cheering it, they were happy about it, and this time when it got confiscated and popped, people were booing it. So it was basically the complete opposite of the night before. But you would think WWE would learn by now that nobody cares about Jinder Mahal, nobody cares about Roman Reigns, and that if you're going to have this kind of match, you need to have it in a town that's not very biased towards these individuals. You need to have it in an unbiased, partisan-like city or town, to where okay, they'll still get a similar reaction, but Roman might get a more positive reaction on top of that. That basically you'll get a town that's more, like I said, it'll give it, basically, like I said, it won't give it this match much of a hard time as Chicago did. But yeah, Roman Reigns ends up winning this match. Then we get to Carmella and Asuka, and this match was interesting to say the least, because I'll give Carmella this. She did what she did what she could in the match. Asuka helped. Well, basically, I'll give Asuka and Carmella credit. Asuka did what she could to help Carmella look good, with the submissions and holds and stuff that she knows of and that she's good at. But it was mostly Asuka throughout. It was mostly Asuka kind of kicking, knocking down Carmella. Carmella just trying to avoid her at times. And then we get to the ending of the match, and it looks like Carmella is on the verge of losing her championship, when all of a sudden this individual comes out of nowhere, climbs onto the apron dressed up like Asuka. Asuka is immediately hypnotized by this momentarily, and just momentarily at first, because then she goes back on the offensive on Carmella, but then she turns back around and she's hypnotized again. She's wondering what the heck is going on. And this imposter, this obvious imposter, takes the mask off and reveals that it's James Ellsworth. This is enough for Carmella to get an advantage, knock Asuka down for a two count, and then hit her with I would say a weak super kick, but just a super kick. But it was strong enough during the distraction to where she hit Asuka with it, and she was able to pin her. And the reason this was done is, of course, Carmella's a heel, so now she's got the bragging rights similar to Jericho, as I think they said on Pro Wrestling Unlimited, that she can brag now for, I would say, the next month, maybe the next 2 months, that she beat Charlotte and Asuka, two of the most dominant women in WWE right now. She beat them. She beat Charlotte, who beat Asuka, and like she said she was going to do, she beat Asuka. And I'm going to say this. I think what's going to happen with this is we're going to be leading towards maybe a triple threat or four-way at Extreme Rules of SummerSlam. Hear me out. Paige complimented the fact that Ellsworth was back, but knowing Paige, she's gonna basically fix what's happened. She's gonna basically, probably give Carmella props on Tuesday and saying, hey, you outsmarted everybody to get the win, but you're not, and she'll, like I said, she'll probably give her props, and then she'll shut all that down by announcing that, however, since she likes to brag that she beat Charlotte and Asuka, that she beat the woman that beat Asuka, and now she's beat Asuka, maybe she'd like to prove it against both ladies at Extreme Rules in a triple threat match. And I think and honestly, when I think about it, that's possibly what they're leading towards. They could be leaning towards a fatal four-way, maybe, if you want to add in one of the other women like Naomi or Becky. But I'm honestly thinking they're heading towards a triple threat, most likely, if not a fatal four-way, for that SmackDown Women's Championship, where it will be Carmella, Charlotte, and Asuka, because you're going to like I said, you're going to have Carmella coming out and bragging now that she's beat the two most dominant women like she said she would, going to be acting all cocky like, hey, I beat them like it's no problem, like, no problem. I just, she's gonna have the attitude like beating Charlotte and Asuka was nothing. Like she just easily beat them like that. And what that's going to lead towards, like I said, is possibly Paige coming out and making the announcement of a triple threat at Extreme Rules, maybe in a cage, which may favor Carmella, maybe just a regular triple threat, maybe under Extreme Rules, maybe submission. I mean, some kind of triple threat. If it's a regular triple threat, that's fine too. But I think if they add in some kind of stipulation, like it's a triple threat match under where you can only win by submission, that's going to be interesting too. Because we know Carmella does have a submission, but it's not as protected or strong as as the figure eight or the Asuka lock. So I'm projecting that coming out of this, Carmella is going to be defending at Extreme Rules, and that may be where she drops the title. Or what I'm thinking is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, is she may drop the title, or she may win the she may keep the championship, and then SummerSlam is when it comes all crashing down. I'm just saying, one of those two events Carmella's going to lose. If Extreme Rules is what she loses, that sets up for the rematch at SummerSlam, or that sets up for another SmackDown Women's Championship match, maybe a rematch from WrestleMania. We'll have to wait and see. But that's what I feel they're heading towards. They're heading towards that direction. Now you might say, well, isn't Charlotte supposed to be out of action for about a month? Yeah, she could be out of action, but we could still get a triple threat. Charlotte may be out of action, but maybe she might be able to come back. Maybe we'll have Becky Lynch sub for her. Who knows? It's all up in the air. But I do know this. It's going to go three ways. It's either going to be a one-on-one match, possibly under submission rules, with no interference allowed from anybody. That includes Ellsworth. It may be a triple threat if Charlotte is clear, or if they go with Becky while Charlotte's out. Or it may be a fatal four-way. Like I said, depending on whether or not Charlotte's clear or not. It could be Charlotte, Becky, Asuka, and Carmella. Or it could be Carmella, Becky, Asuka, and Naomi. Maybe even Lana, but I'm thinking most likely Naomi. But, I think that it's leading towards something at Extreme Rules to where either Carmella will keep the title till SummerSlam or she'll drop it at Extreme Rules. Because if she has a rematch against Asuka and it's a submission match, then most likely she's going to lose. If she just has a regular Extreme Rules match in the rematch where anything goes, there's a chance she will retain. So, again, it all depends on what's happening, but Carmella is going to be defending that title again at Extreme Rules, either in a rematch against Asuka, or, in a multi-woman match, either a triple threat or a fatal four-way. And it could be just Extreme Rules stipulations or submission stipulations for one of them. I'm just saying. One other thing that I brought up to Deluxe Man when I was watching his live review, and I super chatted him a few times. One of the super chats that I brought up was, in fact, I brought a couple of super chats up because this does kind of exemplify Carmella. And that is, Carmella is a diva. From a story and character perspective, Carmella is more diva, or basically is a diva pretending to be a wrestler. That's what it is. Carmella's character role in this story arc that she's a part of as women's champion, is she's a diva pretending to be a wrestler. And I want you to take a look at all the clues when I talk about that. When Paige came out and announced that she was going to face Asuka, what was Carmella's first reaction or first answer to the fact that she had to defend her title she was going to defend her title at Money in the Bank? What was her first reaction to Paige announcing that? What was her first reaction, folks? her first reaction was, no, 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 I'm not defending my title at Money in the Bank. I ain't doing that. I don't know what you're thinking. And when you look at it from a character perspective, and when you look at something like that, you put that piece of the puzzle into play. You look at how and then on top of that, you look at how she's acting and everything, and how she screams during her matches, and does all that, and does all these diva-like attributes. It's pretty much evident that WWE has positioned her with a character that's a diva trying to pretend to be a wrestler. And Deluxeman pointed out, and Deluxeman, I think, answered it great. He said that was brilliant. It's being done brilliantly, because the more she acts, the more diva-ish she acts as champion, the more you're going to want to see someone kick her butt and take that title. I even brought up in another super chat, that they could be positioning Carmella to, from a story perspective, bring back the Divas Championship. And Deluxeman looked at this and said, oh, they do that? That will put her over the heel, or over the planet, or into orbit as the most hated female superstar in the WWE. Because here you would have someone like Carmella thinking she's all better, she's all this, and basically everybody's looking at her and thinking, you're not a real women's wrestler, you're a diva. Think of the story arc they can play with that if they want to keep Carmella as champion. Carmella could come out and say, hey, you think I'm a diva? You think I'm nothing more than a diva? Well, guess what? You're right. And to prove that, until someone beats me, the SmackDown Women's Championship is going to be rechristened and resurrected. Rechristened as the resurrected SmackDown, or the resurrected WWE Divas Championship. And that would fit her character perfectly. Because this is something they could have done with Rusev. Rusev, when he was U.S. champ, a lot of people thought, why don't he just rechristen why doesn't he, while he's champion, why doesn't he resurrect the European title and say, until somebody beats me, the U.S. title's the European title? It makes sense for his character. It makes sense for what they were pushing him as at that time. Carmella could be treated like the same way. Carmella could be treated the same way. She could be put in that position that if they want to keep pushing her for a little bit longer as champion, you could have her come out and say, hey, you all think I'm a diva? Well, guess what? You're right. And to prove it, until someone beats me, I'm no longer the SmackDown Women's Champion. Or you won't know, or something like, you will no longer see the SmackDown Women's Championship be defended here, because until someone beats me, I will be christening myself the SmackDown Divas Champion. And she could bring back that pink butterfly belt. And again, like Deluxeman said, that could get her over as a heel so much, you'll want to see someone beat her just to bring back the SmackDown Women's Championship. You'll want to see a women's wrestler like an Asuka, like a Charlotte or a Becky Lynch beat the holy you-know-what out of her to get that to win the championship and bring back the SmackDown Women's Championship instead of having to deal with the Divas title. And I think that's what WWE's probably planning to do if they don't take the title off her at Extreme Rules. If they let her ride this championship reign until at least SummerSlam, then let her run it. Then let her have that momentum by saying, hey, look, no one could beat me. And all you think I'm a diva. Well, guess what? Here's the proof right here then that I'm a diva. Until someone beats me, I'm not coming out as a SmackDown Women's Champion. I'm coming out as a SmackDown Divas Champion. And then on top of that, you can even have her add in stipulations like, yeah, now that I have the now that I'm Divas Champion, until someone beats me, every title defense will be something different. Will be a different kind of match, or even a contest. And you could have her say, like, oh yeah, Asuka wants to face me for this championship and try to bring back the women's championship in its place. She'll face me next week for the title in a moonwalking contest or a dance-off. It fits her character. It really does. It fits her character to the point that you want to see, like I said, you'll want to see someone beat her. But anyway, yeah, Carmella beat Asuka thanks to James Ellsworth. And again, like I said, this is going to probably lead to a rematch at Extreme Rules, submission only, one-on-one, maybe submission only, triple threat, fatal four-way. We'll have to wait and see. Then we get to AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. And this match, my goodness, folks, if this is what you've been waiting for since this feud was reignited in, this rivalry and feud was reignited in WWE, then I would say I would say it was worth the wait, because these guys, for about half an hour, brought it. I mean, these guys just went all over the place. They beat the holy you-know-what out of each other during this match. I mean, there were moments and spots in this that you would think, that you would look at and say, finally, they're letting them go all out in some way. And they did. They let them go all out. I mean, there were so many times during this match where both men would knock each other down, would knock the other down, and I'll put it this way. There were so many moments in this match where you thought that was it, and Shinsuke was going to win, or AJ was going to win, but then yet the other would just rise up from the dead, or just barely get up. It was basically like storytelling plus in-ring, plus the match that we've been wanting between these two combined and done right. And in the end, AJ Styles did retain. He ended up finally, the way it ended is Shinsuke got back up just barely. He weakly tells AJ to bring it, give him more, or something like that. AJ goes to what Brian Zane calls Dick Kick City, and then lays him on top of the main announce table, goes into the ring, springs off, goes up, springs off the top rope, hits a phenomenal forearm on Shinsuke through the table to basically win the match. And like I said, these guys pulled out all the stops. I mean, there was even a moment where Shinsuke laid AJ on the German announce table or something, and he ran across the Spanish one and across the main one, the English one, onto the German and hit AJ with a Kinshasa. But that didn't even, that didn't even keep AJ down. This is basically what we've been wanting, and we've been wanting it for a long, long time. But like I said, AJ did win in the end. If we get a rematch between these two at Extreme Rules, I'd say that's going to be the final chapter. But I think we're going to probably get AJ and Samoa Joe. And then in return, we're probably going to get Shinsuke going off to Jeff Hardy for the U.S. title. I know some people may think that's a demotion for Shinsuke. Well, guess what? It's not. It's not really a demotion. Because think about this. Whether you like AJ, whether you like Roman Reigns or you don't, he was U.S. champion. He was the Intercontinental champion. Was that a demotion for him? And he's the WWE's main guy. He's Vince's main guy right now. What about AJ himself? He lost the WWE Championship, but guess what? He won the U.S. Championship. Was that demotion? No. Look, Shinsuke is going to get a championship around him, and it may not be the WWE Championship yet, but he's going to get a championship, and it's probably most likely going to be the U.S. title. Because think of the irony of having a Japanese wrestler as the United States champion. Think about that. The last time we had that was with Kensuke, what was his name? I can't think of his name right now. Let me see. I know he was a U.S. champion. Let me see. I know he's in here somewhere. I think he had the U.S. belt once. Did he? I'm not really sure. I thought he had it. He may have competed for it, but I don't know if he had it. Oh, there it is. Kenzu Suzaki. I think he may have won the world. He may have won the U.S. title, but I don't know if he. It doesn't say he did, but I thought he did at one time. But if not, it would be. I guess in a sense it. I guess in a sense it would be the first time, because think of the irony of having a Japanese wrestler as the U.S. champion. We've had a lot of foreign competitors be the U.S. champion. Jinder Mahal, we've had several. I think, like I say, we've had several U.S. champions that were foreigners. We've had. Let me see here. Well, Carlito wouldn't really count that much, but still. We've had Finlay as a champion. We've had, well, if you want to put Benoit as a U.S. foreigner as well, but you get the idea. But I mean, like, legit anti-American kind of foreigners. So Finlay was one. Let's see. Sheamus was another. And he wasn't too anti-American, but still. Santino Marella held it. Antonio Cesaro held it. Rusev, one of the most notable ones in recent couple of years, held it. Alberto Del Rio held it. Carlisto held it. And then Alberto won it again, but still. See, Kevin Owens won it, which I think they wanted to do something with him. And then that's Bobby Roode, but like I said, Bobby's kind of like the same thing. He didn't act too much like a... Well, he was a foreigner wearing the belt, but not too much of an anti-American. Jinder Mahal being the last one. So for Shinsuke, some might say it would be kind of a demotion, but I don't think it would be. I think Shinsuke becoming U.S. champion or given the U.S. championship would be a great rebound for him, because at least he would have a belt held around him. He would have championship around him, and it would actually give him more legitimacy and more value, because not only would you want to see an American take the belt off of him, it may rejuvenate his career, maybe make him a babyface again, and perhaps it'll position him, put him in a better position to be looked at as a possible contender for the, WWE Championship or the Universal Championship, depending on what brand he could be on while he's champion. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think, honestly, the next step for Shinsuke is going to be the U.S. Championship. I just feel it. I mean, why would they have him go over Jeff Hardy, if you will? I mean, yeah, he's lost, but why would they make him look dominant over Jeff Hardy, even in defeat? I'm just saying. Now, we get to the Raw Women's Championship match. Nia Jax, Ronda Rousey, and I have to say, these two women really shut the doubters up. They really did. A lot of people might think, ooh, this may not be good, but yet they proved the doubters wrong. They actually put on a very storytelling match, and it was decent. It was actually decent because Ronda did sell for Nia, and Nia at times did sell for Ronda when she had to. It was good back and forth. And it basically showed that, no matter how big you are, or strong you are, if Ronda locks in that armbar, you're pretty much done. And it was good. Like I said, it was really good. I mean, there were moments in there that really surprised me. I mean, Ronda picking up Nia with ease, not once but twice. She hit like some kind of, unique combination of an angle slam back suplex on her at first, and then she hit something like a Uranagi rock bottom on Nia, which was impressive. So it shows that basically, no matter how big you are, how big or strong you are, someone like Ronda Rousey can actually physically take you to the limit, if not beat you. And then we get to the ending. Now we get to the ending of this match, and it looks like we're on the verge of Ronda winning the title. That is until Alexa Bliss pops out of nowhere, hits Ronda in the back with the briefcase, takes her out of the equation. Literally, she hits her a couple of times, goes outside, throws her over the announce table, and then comes back in, focuses on Nia, and Nia's injured arm, hits her a couple of times, swings at her and hits her a couple of times with the briefcase on the arm area, hits her with a DDT. Well, what happens afterwards, though, is she asks for the bell to be rung, says she's cashing in, and then she hits Nia with a DDT after the bell rung, hits Tristan Bliss, and Nia is now a 3-time Raw Women's Champion. After that, combined with the 2 SmackDown titles, a 5-time Women's Champion. And you know what's funny? A lot of people were happy about this. The crowd in Chicago popped for this, but after the pop and the excitement of it wore off, it's like realization just, hit everybody straight in the face. Like, yeah, this is great. Wait a minute. It's like basically people were excited, and it's like people all excited, like, oh, great, this is great, this is great. Oh, how great, Alexa cashed in. She cashed in the same night she won, and she's once again the champion. And what was the point of this whole thing with her and Nia in the first place? It's like I said, it's like after all the excitement wore off, that's when reality started to set in. It's like, wait a minute, she's champion once again? What was the point of taking the belt off her at Mania? And what was the point of this whole thing with Nia? That's basically what really gets a lot of people pissed off. It's like, wait a minute, you just wasted all time focusing on Nia and Alexa's feud, taking the belt off Alexa at Mania, and then just giving it back to her not even 3 months later? Now, some might say, well, she wasn't champion for a while, so you can't blame her. One of the reasons she wasn't in the championship picture after Backlash is because of the same reason Charlotte's going to be out of action for a month. Charlotte's got to get the similar surgery or something like that Alexa had. But anyway, it's like it was like realizations just started to hit everybody, and the excitement that they had for Alexa cashing in and winning just started to deflate, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, that means she's champion again. What was the point? What was the point of taking the belt off her in the first place? Doesn't make sense. And it doesn't, but maybe in a sense it does. I mean, look, Alexa being champion again, maybe she just knows certain people. Maybe she, kisses up to the right people. I don't know. But I think mostly because I think what it is Alexa being champion, it was done for a reason. One, in a sense, it continues and maybe concludes her rivalry with Nia at Extreme Rules. And then if she keeps the belt after that, she will end up dropping it at SummerSlam. And this is one thing I mentioned in the Super Chat to Delexman. I said, SummerSlam, divas lose. And what I meant by that was, if Alexa and Carmella keep their championships until SummerSlam, expect that to be the event where they drop their championships to the respective opponents. That either being, in the case of SmackDown, it could either be Becky Lynch, Charlotte, or Asuka. And in the case of Raw, it's going to be Ronda Rousey. And expect those matches, when they take place at SummerSlam, and like I said, expect those matches when they take place at SummerSlam to be something we haven't seen at SummerSlam since last year, and that's just squashes. Expect Ronda, if she's the one challenging Alexa, to go in there and squash her immediately and force her to tap out. Expect either Charlotte or Asuka, or maybe Becky Lynch, to go in there and squash Carmella. Expect these two women to lose their championships, because you're going to be in Brooklyn, probably the most hardcorest of hardcore towns, and with word going around that Carmella is more diva than wrestler, and then obviously Alexa being similar in that perspective, but she's more lenient, but she leans more towards the wrestler side than I think Carmella. They're going to want to, as much as they may cheer Alexa, they're going to want to see someone like Ronda come in and squash her. As much as some people may give Carmella a homecoming in Brooklyn, they're going to want to see Asuka or Charlotte or Becky squash her. So even if Carmella and Alexa keep the belts after Extreme Rules, expect them to drop those belts at SummerSlam in 2 back-to-back squash matches. That's what I think they're setting up for, because you're going to want to use the upcoming fall and winter to build to WrestleMania, and you want 2 strong, legitimate, strong female champions to be that focal point, especially if you're going to probably do a unification between Charlotte and Ronda at Mania in the main event. Now, we get to the Money in the Bank men's ladder match, the one that closed out the show. You have Braun Strowman, Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Kofi Kingston, who was the New Day member chosen. You have The Miz. You have Samoa Joe. You have Rusev. And this match was good, no doubt. All the smallest superstars teamed up and tried to take out Strowman, even to the point that they buried a bunch of ladders on him. But that came back to haunt them in the end, because there's a moment during the match where Finn Balor's out on the outside, goes up the ramp to grab a ladder, and then almost rising up from the dead is Strowman. And Strowman just grabs the other end, the bottom part of the ladder that Finn's trying to pull. And then Finn, he just looks back and it's like, oh crap. But it's like, he doesn't say that, but he basically realizes what's going on. So basically, after that, you have a couple of heels. You have the heels, Samoa Joe, Owens, and Rusev, teaming up on Strowman, to the point that they set a table up, and then there's this big, huge ladder right there, almost probably taller than I think what Jeff Hardy's been on. And they try to set it up to where Owens is going to basically go up and do potentially a frog splash on Strowman on Strowman while he's on the table. And there's a line that even shocked the announcers. They hear Joe telling Owens, "Get your you-know-what up there." And they're like, "What did Joe just say?" It's like it kind of surprised them. But what happened is Braun ends up fighting and fighting off and knocking down both Joe and Rusev. He climbs up, and of course Owens, he's stuck there. He's frozen in fear. He's trying to climb down, but Strowman grabs him, pulls him back up, and he says, "Remember what I warned you? Remember what I told you you were going to do?" And then basically from the top of the ladder, he just tosses Owens off into, right to the ground, right to the end. Tosses him off the ladder onto two tables that were covered up with a sheet and obviously with some padding, but oh man, it looks scary. It's like a lot of people compared it to several of the times Shane McMahon would jump off these high things to try to take out opponents. But yeah, it looked that nasty. There was a moment as well that Strowman came down and they tried to stop him with a ladder, but he just ran through it. And then after he did that, running through the ladder and knocking down the other opponents, you get this image of the Miz. And Miz is setting up a ladder in the middle of the ring. And Miz just suddenly turns his attention, sees what happened. And Miz, he's setting this up and he's looking on the outside and he sees what happened. It's like Miz just stops and he's like, oh, and he's got this look like, oh shit. Excuse my language, God, but he's got this look of, oh shit, I better start climbing. And that's what he starts to do, but Strowman cuts him off, and in the end, no matter how much they try, Miz gets knocked off, Strowman gets knocked down, Kofi gets knocked down by Strowman. Balor, kind of does a coup de grace on Bobby Roode from a ladder on the outside into the ring, kind of tweaks his knee a little bit by doing so, and that kind of hinders him to the point that Strowman is able to get up there after tossing Kofi off and grab the briefcase. And Braun Strowman, as several people, if not many, predicted, is Mr. Money in the Bank. Now, originally, according to sources, SmackDown was supposed to get the briefcase, the men's briefcase, and Raw the women's. That wasn't the case here. Because from what I've read online, there were several changes for the past couple of days of which way they wanted to go. And obviously, as I told the Lex Man, or at least try to, spell correction on your Android doesn't help much. I basically tried to say that, Fox bound or not, Vince McMahon values Raw more than SmackDown Live. Yeah. SmackDown Live is basically the billion-dollar show that's going to be on major network television, but yet he still values Raw. What sense does that make? So anyway, yeah, Braun Strowman wins, and a lot of people are excited about that, but again, it's just like with Alexa, it's like, as excited as they were and everything, that's when the realization kind of set in. It's like, wait a minute, Braun's already over with the crowd. He doesn't really need anything else to be over or to get a shot at Brock Lesnar. Why would you give him the briefcase? It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but there's a reason. You see, Braun Strowman can cash in on Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Or if you want story potential, Braun Strowman can force Brock Lesnar to show up at Extreme Rules and put his championship on the line. He has that power now with the briefcase. He has that power now with the briefcase. So it makes an interesting scenario. Braun could say, Brock, show up at Extreme Rules. I'm cashing in there, and I'm cashing in on you. And Brock would have no choice but to be there. He would. Or, Braun could say, look, I know you don't have the guts to show up next week or Extreme Rules, so I'm cashing in on you at SummerSlam. There you go. And, of course, there's reports Roman's going to be facing Brock, so storyline-wise, you could have Roman come out and say, hold on. You're cashing in on Brock at SummerSlam? I don't think so. I want Brock at SummerSlam. And you could set up a match to where maybe, Roman faces Braun one-on-one on an edition of Raw, and then if Roman wins, he gets added to the match, and you have a triple threat at SummerSlam. So, there's a reason. There's always a reason. We may not agree with it, but there is a reason. Were some of the decisions the right decisions? Absolutely not. They weren't. But this is WWE, and for the decisions they made in the end, the booking decisions they made at the end, they overall gave us a decent show. I'm not going to argue with that. So, despite a few hiccups here and there, they gave us a decent show. So, again, like I said, I'm not going to argue with that. And really, that's all I can say on the matter. So, let me know what you guys think, though, down below. Comment if you like. But those are just my overall thoughts on WWE Money in the Bank 2018. And I will talk to y'all later.